Hey guys, now what we have here, guys, is we're trying to find out lengths this time, alright? So to start us off, now what I'm gonna write has nothing to do with trigonometry or questions 1, 2, and 3. It has nothing to do with it. I'm just gonna show you one or two little tricks here, okay? If I have the number 5 equals x over 2. Can anybody tell me what x is? Yeah, go for it. Right. So, see, what's the 2 doing on the right hand side? It's dividing by 2, isn't it? If I move the 2 over to the other side, what does it have to do straight away? Has to multiply. So 5 multiplied by 2 equals, so 10 equals x. Everybody get that? Wait. It's just a standard question. It's just x over 2 equals 5. What number when you divide by 2 gives you 5? The answer is 10. So you need to get the x on its own. So to get the x on its own, you need to bring the number 2, which is division currently, but when it crosses the equal sign, it turns into multiplication. The inverse, not necessarily the opposite, because some people go, that should be minus then as well. It's the inverse of division is multiplication. Okay. Yeah. So you won't be changing anything into negatives here. Okay. So give it a go. Another one. 7 equals x over 3. What is x? What number divided by 3 gives you 7? 21. Now, to do this mathematically, and the way you need to know how to do it, is you basically bring the 3, it's currently divided by 3, but when you bring it up, it's going to be multiplied by 3. So 7 divided by 3 equals 7 multiplied by 3. I said that already, but you'll hear it. Me say it twice now. 21 equals x. Now, we're going to try another one. Think of it this way. Okay? 7 equals 21 divided by x. Now, here's a hard one. To get the x on its own, what you have to do? The x is currently in division position. What happens when I bring it over to your side? In a minute. 2 steps at once, 1 minute. So it's going to be 7x equals 21. And then what Keen said, 7 is multiply on the left side of the equals. So when you bring it underneath, it's going to be divide. Does everybody understand them? Everybody on board with that? Now that you have a basic understanding of what's called cross multiplication, we're now going to try some questions with trigonometric identities, okay? Now, what I want you to remember is, do you know when you have a tan 60 or tan 25? Yeah? This is considered one number. Do you understand that? They're considered one number. They have to move together. They're glued together. They can never separate. Do you understand? So if you want to move, let's say tan 60 equals let's say tan 60 equals 4 over x as an example. Yeah, the x moves up like it did last time, doesn't it? Now the tan 60 is its own number, so what happens to the x is the x will have to, it comes up and it goes beside the tan 60. Now you want the x on its own, so what you have to do with the tan 60, it's in multiply mode, so what happens when you bring it across? It goes into division mode. And you see the way the tan and the 60 travel together? That always happens in this exercise. Sine, cos and tan always travel with the number that's beside them. So let me give you an example. In this question here, we're asked to find out what is the length x. Everybody see that? What is the length x? So, first of all, what side is this? Name it. It's the hypotenuse, opposite or adjacent? You know the hypotenuse and you're looking to find out the value of the opposite. So, toa. First of all, guys, we're looking for O and H. Which function has O and H in it? O and H. So what do I write down? Sine. What goes beside the sine? No, what angle are we talking about? Sine 25 equals opposite is adjacent, or sorry, hypotenuse 10. What's stopping the x from being on its own? It's been divided by 10. So when we transfer the 10 across the equal sign, what happens to it? It becomes multiply by 10. You're multiplying sine 25 by 10. Now, what you do is you always enter it in your calculator. 10 sine 25. And what do we get? 4.226. 2 decimal places. So 26 becomes 30. 4.23, because it rounds upwards if it's 5 or above. See the 6? That will round up, not down. So it's 4.23. Now this is difficult the first time, okay? Let's try another one. Let's try question 2. What can you say we do for question 2, guys? What's the 20? What side is the 20? What side is the x? Adjacent. Which function do we use? We use cos. Cos what? What comes beside the cos? How do you know it was 60? It's always the angle that comes beside the sine, cos or tan. So it's cos 60. Cos 60 is equal to what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. What's the adjacent side? What's the hypotenuse? 20. It's currently being divided by 20. What happens to the 20? Huh? 20 cos 60 equals x. Go to your calculator. 20 cos 60 equals 10. 10 equals to x. Let's move on a little bit. Okay? This one here. Which two sides do we know compared to the 62? Opposite and adjacent. What function do we use for opposite and adjacent? Now, you'd use sin if it's opposite and hypotenuse. Tan, opposite and adjacent. Tan what? 62 equals $20. What happens to the 20? 20 tan 62 is remember 2 decimal places. 614. Does the 4 go down or up? Down. So 37.61. What do you think of them so far? Tricky enough? So, step 1. Identify if you're using sine, cos or tan. Which one are you going to use for this one, Aaron? Sine, cos or tan? You have to figure out what side you have before you can tell me that. So for question 9, what sides do you have? For question 9. It's on the board. What sides do you have? Shh. Sides do you have, Aaron? Okay, do you know the name of the 30? Is it adjacent, opposite or hypotenuse? How do you know it's the hypotenuse? Longest side. Okay, what's the x then? Adjacent, because the other one would be the opposite. Now, you have adjacent and hypotenuse, Barry. Which function should you choose? Cos. If you wanted to choose sine, you need the opposite and the hypotenuse. That's not the case. If you wanted to choose tan, you need the opposite and the adjacent. That's not the case. What we have is the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Aaron. To do this, guys, the hypotenuse is 30, the adjacent is x. Okay? Now, to locate that it is the adjacent, just use your eyeball and go, look, that's the opposite, but I don't have the opposite. So therefore, by process of elimination, the other side must have been the adjacent. We choose k because we have... Now, k is cos of the angle. What is the angle? 18. Cos 18 equals what? Adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And then finally, what's next? Now, what is 30 cos 18? 30 cos 18, anybody? 5, 3. Okay, guys. Now,